Well, if you're wondering why farmers are so concerned about their farm finances right now, they really just can't catch a break. It's not just because corn prices are below break even for most. It's the fact input prices are so high.
Since taking office in January, the Trump administration has moved to cancel or freeze trillions in federal funding. That includes billions in funding from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. William Brangham is back now with this report on how the funding freeze is affecting farmers.
China abruptly canceled orders for U.S. soybeans and corn before tariff tensions escalated. A devastating blow. USDA terminates local food purchasing programs that serve Humboldt schools, tribes, seniors, and food banks while supporting ranchers and farmers. Corn prices have crashed to $3.50 a bushel, sending the entire U.S. Corn Belt into a dangerous tailspin. Over 2 million tons of corn were shipped straight back to New Orleans by importers, transforming million-dollar contracts into worthless paper overnight. From Iowa to Indiana, combines sit abandoned because harvesting now means deeper financial losses. Cracked kernels lie under the rain like a massive grain graveyard. While U.S. farmers face fresh loans and shattered confidence, Canada quietly secures its position on a multi-billion-dollar supply agreement with Japan, South Korea, and even Europe, orchestrating a silent takeover right on the world's dining tables. So why has U.S. corn collapsed so rapidly since early 2025? While Ottawa calmly finalizes deals that pour millions into Canadian pockets, today's video will examine every crack in America's corn foundation and reveal how Canada climbed to the grain throne. Hit subscribe to Financial Scope TV and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest political economic updates. Tariffs are destroying U.S. corn while it sits rotting on barges. After the White House imposed fees of up to $1.5 million US per trip on China-built cargo vessels, shipping costs through the Gulf of Mexico jumped about 25%, pushing industry-wide export expenses up by $930 million US annually. Trans-Pacific container rates showed no mercy either. In just the first 2 months of the year, Asia freight rocketed to nearly $5,000 USD per container, doubling the post-COVID baseline. Yet the second blow cut even deeper: pesticide residue testing fees. On March 14, 2025, the Federal Grain Inspection Service issued Directive 9180.40, raising the multi-residue export test fee from 57 USD to 81 USD per sample, a staggering 40% leap in a single crop cycle. Every U.S. corn shipment now needs this green certificate or risks being rejected mid-ocean. Costs exploded, yet grain wouldn't budge. The February grain transportation report showed barge traffic on the Mississippi down 16% against the 5-year average, while New Orleans ports clogged for lack of empty containers and new security paperwork. More than 180 vessels waited at anchor, leaving Iowa and Indiana corn to soak and rot. Farmers lose another 27 cents per bushel simply by waiting for a ship. Meanwhile, global import standards shifted to clean plus green plus blockchain traced requirements. In February 2025, Mexico banned GMO corn and favored pure grain with low carbon certificates, a shock that Asian and European feed mills copied into their contracts. The United States, with 92% GMO acreage, was scratched off the approved list, whereas Canada, proud of its Prairie Trace blockchain that tracks every shipment, secured brand new billion-dollar deals with Japan, South Korea, and the EU. The impact was immediate. Spot corn across Midwest markets plunged to $3.45 per bushel, the lowest since 2016. While Canadian offers in Manitoba held at $4.20 thanks to a carbon-free premium. Global traders simply shrugged. U.S. shipments cost more, tests take longer, and they fail the non-GMO requirements. Better to switch to the maple leaf. The world corn map is being redrawn right on New Orleans docks. One side sees torn contracts piled high. The other waves Canada's flag over premium cargoes, fetching 20% more just for wearing a green label. According to Reuters, unsold corn stocks held by U.S. farmers have soared to a 6-year high. The USDA estimates that by September's end, more than 2.5 billion bushels will still be trapped in silos, baking under sun and rain. The cash bid in Cedar Rapids sits at only $3.74 per bushel for September delivery, while average 2025 harvest costs in Iowa already consume $165.75 per acre. That brutal gap explains why Midwest farmers are selling John Deere combines on Craigslist or driving Uber at night to patch cash flow. Some households are holding back up to 90% of their crop because selling now only adds more debt. In Indiana, the state's agricultural economy beneath the Corn Belt shrank 6.1% in Q1 2025, the second steepest decline nationwide. With incomes gone, food aid applications flood rural counties. The Food Bank of Indiana warns that households seeking help increased by half versus last year. The final blow to the chain is ethanol. An EIA report shows Midwest production rates down to 87.8%, with 25 plants closed, idling 1.26 billion gallons of capacity. In Columbus, Nebraska, Valero's plant has cut 60% of night shifts, sidelining 120 workers. The corn demand market shrinks further, from silos overflowing in Iowa to barges stuck in Illinois to pumps shut in Nebraska. Each broken link pushes the crisis deeper. U.S. corn, the Midwest's golden symbol, not only loses value, it's suffocating the communities that depend on it. Canada isn't rescuing U.S. corn. Instead, it quietly carves out a luxury segment and does it so systematically that importers feel as secure as buying a Swiss watch. Every export container carries blockchain tracking from seed to terminal, leaving almost zero room for counterfeits. Canada pushes traceability deepest thanks to farmer co-ops concentrated in Ontario and Saskatchewan. But traceability alone isn't enough. Ottawa forces businesses to commit to 3 principles: no GMO, no glyphosate, and no carbon emissions above the EU's threshold. Canada became the first North American country to build a unified disclosure platform for corn, letting shipments clear EU customs 20 days faster than US grain. The payoff appears on the price board. The June 2025 market report from Grain Farmers of Ontario records old crop basis running $1.30 to $1.87 per bushel above futures, a premium of 22 to 30%. Even new crop corn fetches an extra $1.49 per bushel, at least 18% over Chicago. That explains why Asian feed mills agree to pay more. They're buying a green reputation, not just kernels. The biggest boost arrived in March 2025 when Canada and South Korea signed the Organic Equivalency Arrangement. This document opened the door wide for organic grain, allowing Ontario co-ops to lock a 5-year supply package with major feed mills just 3 weeks after the agreement took effect. At the same time, Saskatchewan leveraged a weak dollar and the tariff dispute between the US and EU to sell non-GMO corn to Japan and the Netherlands. Fall 2025 contracts for the EU are listed at an average 18% premium, a level Midwest farmers have never imagined. Behind the scenes, Ottawa spreads a tight safety net. Export Development Canada lets farmers buy single-lot export credit insurance and reimburses up to 50% of cold chain logistics costs to preserve low-carbon certification. The domino effect appears on transport lines. The same week Canada signed its Korean agreement, the U.S. Department of Agriculture counted only 30 grain ships loading in the Gulf, down 14% from a year earlier. U.S. importers are starting to pivot to Vancouver because Canada's rail network runs straight into the Midwest, capitalizing on cheaper rates when empty containers return from Asia. American corn once dominated global menus. Yet this historic rejection has pushed the entire Corn Belt into a flashing red zone. As the Grain Export Foundation wobbles, The whole U.S. agricultural chain from soybeans and beef to dairy suddenly becomes domino pieces poised to topple. If Washington fails to act, that collapse will spread to soybeans, where 92% of acreage is GMO. From there, the crack will spread to dairy as feed costs climb, and small farms face the biggest bankruptcy wave since the 1980s crisis. Beef will struggle even more, because every pound raised on dirty corn will carry a heavier carbon tax than Canadian or Australian meat, two rivals that have pledged net zero by 2030. In this landscape, the White House has only two paths to choose. First, reduce protectionism, cut tariffs on green equipment, open the door to blockchain traceability, and share carbon rules with trading partners. This scenario demands a steep political price, but it buys a ticket back to the negotiating table and a chance to rebuild trust in U.S. farm products. Second, maintain tariff walls, keep tangled inspections, and lean on subsidies, the very path that sent the Rust Belt economy over the cliff 3 decades ago. Choose that route, and Canada will grab not just market share, but also the safe, sustainable brand tied to billions of meals worldwide. The clock is ticking. Will Washington realign the strategy in time, or let the rural economy derail even further? The next decision will affect not only the price of corn in your soup bowl, but the paychecks of millions of American families. And this is only the beginning. If you care about the latest political economic stories, don't forget to subscribe to Financial Scope TV and ring the notification bell so you never miss a beat.